Remember when teachers, public employees, Planned Parenthood, NPR, and PBS crashed the stock market, wiped out half of our 401ks, took trillions in TARP money, spilled oil in the Gulf of Mexico, gave themselves billions in bonuses, and paid no taxes? Yeah, me neither. Paul Ryan's budget is the culmination of about a 30-year Republican strategy called Starve the Beast, by which Republicans have worked to reduce taxes and increase the national deficit as large as possible, all by design, all to create the supposed deficit crisis that we now face, and to use that crisis to eliminate programs like Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, and a slew of other programs. Programs such as EPA, SEC, Planned Parenthood, collective bargaining are programs that the Republicans have never been able to eliminate through the democratic process. This Starve the Beast Republican strategy was first openly acknowledged by Ronald Reagan on February 5, 1981, and the Ryan budget plan is transparently an attempt to cash in on this long-standing political agenda.
Over the past decades, we've talked of curtailing government spending so that we can then lower the tax burden. Sometimes we've even taken a run at doing that. But there were always those who told us that taxes couldn't be cut until spending was reduced. But you know, we can lecture our children about extravagance until we run out of voice and breath. Or we can cure their extravagance by simply reducing their allowance.
The notion that cutting taxes would lead to a reduction in government spending has become a staple of conservative economic orthodoxy. Distinguished economists from Milton Friedman to Robert Barrow have argued that the most effective way to shrink the size of government is to starve the beast by reducing tax revenues. How do you reduce tax revenues? You put through massive tax cuts for the rich, which then depletes federal revenues and therefore creates a deficit so large to the point that if you were to cut all social programs, it would then balance the budget. No more Social Security, Medicare, or Medicaid. No more spending on education. Simply allow government to keep the armies, prisons, and police. Then privatize and deregulate everything else. This is the Republican endgame. If you voted Republican, you voted to eliminate all of those programs. If you voted Republican, you voted to eliminate the middle class, and in its place, create a very small, very wealthy elite and a large underclass of starving wage workers. If you voted Republican, you voted to do away with democracy and to replace it with corporatocracy.
I think that people at the high end, people like myself, should be paying a lot more in taxes. We have it better than we've ever had it.
They say you have to keep those tax cuts even on the very wealthy because that is what energizes business and capitalism.
The rich are always going to say that, you know, just give us more money and we'll go out and spend more and then it'll all trickle down to the rest of you. But that has not worked the last 10 years, and I hope the American public is catching on.
Here we had Warren Buffett telling you that the Republicans have lied to you when they said tax cuts would stimulate the economy. The Republicans have lied to you when they said tax cuts would create jobs. The Republicans have lied to you when they said tax cuts would pay for themselves. Back in 2004, the Republicans thought they had starved the beast enough and sent Bush out on the campaign trail to advocate getting rid of Social Security, privatizing it, and putting it in the hands of Wall Street.
On the road, continuing his tour to promote changes in Social Security. But as NBC's David Gregory tells us tonight, he's run into a roadblock: seniors.
Can you tell us any detail about the reform you're thinking about?
I can, and that is that, first of all, this is my idea. As I say, there has to be Republicans and Democrats very much a part of the mix. But on Social Security, I think the best way to do this is to say, if you're a person at a certain income level or below, nothing changes for you today or in the out years. If you're a wealthier citizen, your benefits increase at the cost of living as opposed to a higher cost. So everybody's benefits go up. Some go up faster than others. And that'll cure a lot of the problem. I also happen to believe that a worker at his or her option ought to be allowed to put some of their own money in a private savings account, an account that they call their own, It's an asset that they'll call their own. They'll get a much better rate of return on their own money than they would in the Social Security with the government manages their money for them, for example. And that would be a valuable contribution to our economy because it's asset accumulation, which is good for American families.
To the contrary, a recent Center for American Progress Action Fund report found that if a worker had retired on October 1st, 2008, after 35 years of contributions to private retirement accounts, that retiree would have lost nearly $30,000 in retirement funds because of the downturn in the stock market.
My friends, this is not just a political fight. This is not just a policy fight. This is a legislative battle about the soul of our nation.
It's a battle to ensure the future generations of Americans, our children and grandchildren, have a financial safety net when they retire. Older Americans will not be left on the sidelines. This is our battle. We will win it because right and might is on our side. Our members make great warriors for this battle because we fully appreciate the importance of Social Security, the nation's single largest source of retirement income. Our members are committed to making certain their children and grandchildren understand what they will be giving up in exchange for the risky private accounts being touted by President Bush.
The Republicans have cut taxes by lying to the American people, and they've had to lie because if they told the truth, the majority of the Americans would have thrown them out of office. Cutting social programs is the third rail of American politics. Here's Chris Matthews schooling Paul Ryan on his dangerous proposal to end Medicare as we know it.
You know, I've been through this. I'm older than you. I've been through this, watching this and being a staffer up there. I watched them, your party, Ronald Reagan back in '86 in his second term, talked about putting caps on some of these COAs and things like that to reduce the automatic growth in the entitlements like Social Security. He lost. You know, Paul Hawkins got defeated, blown away. Jeremiah Denton got blown away in Alabama. All the conservatives got blown away the minute they put the... Right. It's called the third rail for a reason. Right. If somebody signs on to your legitimate proposals for balancing the budget at some point in the future, they will lose elections because the voters do want something for nothing, don't they? You say they don't.
So no.
You say they don't want something for nothing? I think they do.
We have had this problem. If it was...
The current Starve the Beast brigade of Ryan and his yes-men Republicans are not doing anything brave with their slash-and-burn budget. If Ryan were truly the type that cared about budget deficits, he wouldn't have given a thumbs up to George Bush's entire screw the deficit and economy, and he wouldn't have agreed that having too much of a budget surplus was a bad thing as he did in 2001. The Republicans are trying to put the finishing touches on their master plan of making the United States into some type of strange, libertarian, theocratic nation. They broke the budget on purpose and are now attempting to reap rewards for both themselves and their big money donors. If Ryan hadn't scrawled out an anti-Medicare, anti-humanist budget, some other Republican would have. It's a long-term strategy and Ryan is only playing his part. But despite how obviously this plan has worked and how obvious the next step is, the media, Republicans, and Democrats seem to be unable to conjure up a name because the rules of Starve the Beast demand you never speak of Starve the Beast.